Okay, lifting the machine up onto the stand. We didn't really make a video of it because probably the two most difficult things was unloading the crate from the truck and then lifting this up onto the stand. This is where you can run into problems, damage the machine, so we weren't taping it, and it was kind of the last minute thing. Me and the wife decided I got so far, might as well finish the job. It is a holiday weekend, so. Now, what we did is we had the stand built. Now, the chip tray was secured with bolts in a lathe to the bottom of the packing crate. So, first thing that I did basically was remove the splash guard, which you see it laying there, which is just a matter of 4 screws. You just back them off. It's slotted, it slides out, and you can leave the screws right there and just slide it back, tighten it down. I took the chuck off to lighten up this end. Now another thing, we'll go over this as we go. This little notch that's lined up and open should be between these V's. The manual says to remove it, turn it clockwise. No, it goes counterclockwise. I knew that was wrong, and I remember from my memory all them years ago, you unlock counterclockwise. So don't try to force it. And it is stiff. I had to more or less, I really had to turn on it and kind of tap it loose. It's stiff the first time until it gets cleaned. So be careful. Alright, once we did that, I also moved the tailstock as far to one side and wheeled over the carriage as far as it would go, and then locked it with the half nut so it wouldn't move. That's how I got it done. This removed, you know, chuck removed as much over as I can. And then to pick a balance point, I took my standard Harbor Freight strap and then basically went down in here. Now, the reason I didn't wrap the strap on the outside is because you don't want to damage these screws. And even if I threaded this up around through here, I was afraid that when I took up the pressure it would push the screws this way. So I went inside. Here's your chuck. There's a solid thing. These two here. I threaded this down and around to where I got it to stick up about that far, almost even with the chuck. Now I had like a balance point, okay? Now this piece of crap 1-ton lift I got from Harbor Freight, the problem is down with the legs. You can't get underneath the crate. You can't really get up close to the stand properly and line it up. So that's a problem, but be aware of it. So basically what I did, and also the way that's set, if you go to the quarter ton thing, you'll see this here is just about, oh, shouldn't do that, but I had to modify the crane. What I did, this is the original hole, this is the last stop. I added about 4.5, 5 inches. How safe this is, or if you should do this, I don't recommend, but it gave me enough length to come down close. Now with the strap choked up, I'm almost even with the end of the legs. But the problem with the crate was it's bolted down to the crate. You can't get the bolts or nothing out unless you lift the crate up. So we had to lift the crate up, put it on 50 caliber or ammunition cans stacked too high, and it was just enough to get these feet or legs under. Then I could get under the lathe and pick the lathe up on the center. Because the way this is all designed, you must lift from the top, and them legs don't get up under the stand right or anything. So it's a giant pain in the ass. So once I lifted the lathe off the crate, I got the crate out of the way, I got the chip pan up, put the chip pan up on the stand there. Now they sent you 4 studs with nuts washers and lock washers. So I was thinking of putting them on there, lining up the chip pan, the holes in the chip pan line up. But we couldn't lift it because of them legs. It's like one would go to one side here, and then the whole lathe would be off. So we had to take the studs out and just lay the chip pan on top, and then set this on top, which was off center. And well, here, I'll show you in a second. Alright, one thing about lifting this machine, no matter how you do it, this is not a job for one person. Okay, 2 people, it was tough. You should have a group of people out here to help you when you do this. Now, like I explained, I had that strap set here, I had that chain hoist, lifted it up, got it off the skid. But the thing is, the minute this machine got up in the air, it was unstable. Okay? It's going to roll one way or the other. This headstock end is not equally balanced. So basically, constantly someone must hold this. I mean, it's balanced, it's not hard, but you got to hold this. And probably getting back up on, see on the front, there's nothing really to hold it unless you got it up high enough here, or you'd be stooping. So you got the buttons, and you have a habit of grabbing the buttons, but it can be managed. If you let go, it's going to start to roll one way or the other, okay? So somebody must hold this the whole time, like when it's moving across the floor. Somebody has to be here on this end to keep it stable and upright. Then once we got it up over here, because of that stupid leg situation, the machine wasn't lined up even close. But one interesting thing about it, what we did is we took the bolts back out. So now you just had the chip tray here loose on top of the stand, and we lowered this down on the stand. And what's deceiving is this hangs out. I kind of had a push as we lowered, and I got the machine on the stand. It wasn't lined up, but it was on top of the stand solid. So once it was on the stand, it wasn't that hard to move. Even just coming over here and lifting up and sliding it. For some reason it slides pretty easy. You take a little rubber mallet, and we lined up one hole, I think down in here. We got it lined up. My wife, who has smaller hands than me, got in there and ran the bolt down, and we got the bolt. So we had the chip pan, the hole in the chip pan, the hole in the foot, or the base of the lathe, lined up. Then it was only a matter of, once you get one bolt, is just scooting this over one way or the other and moving the chip pan. Actually, if I lifted a little on it, the wife could tug the chip pan, or you just thump it, and you lined it up, and we got all 4 bolts on. And then even with the 4 studs in there, when you go like this, this thing will rock. You got to tighten it down. So once we went and got a ratchet, tightened down the 4 things, it's pretty solid. It's pretty solid on the base, and we did level that base close, you know, because I don't think the base is too flat. So that's how we got it up and mounted. It's probably the most difficult parts of that is unloading it into the house and then getting it up on the stand or whatever you're going to mount it on. It's tough. But we got it up, really didn't damage nothing, kind of manhandled it. I didn't like doing that, but had no other choice. If you have some guys that are Olympic weightlifters, they can just come pick it up, put it on there for you, but it's still a heavy, cumbersome, and unwieldy thing to lift. Okay, you have to remember that. It's kind of problematic. I never had to lift a lathe, okay, in my work. They always had riggers come in, and a lot of the big ones, they had pad eyes on the machines where they come and just lift it with a crane and take it. So, something new for me. We got it down, got it up. You know, and that's the lifting, mounting thing. I'm going to put the splash guard back up here. It's pretty simple. And then next we're going to wipe the oil off of it, get the belt on. And another thing, they're talking about wiping the oil off the pulley, not the belt. Because the way the manual is weird, and you got to be careful. And I still haven't figured out how to change over the gears to change the threads in that yet. There's the way it's done, and looking at it, it's kind of confusing, but we'll work on it and get it. All right, so that's it for the lift. Now we'll go on to the next phase of getting it set up and running.